Hi there, welcome to this build blog of a 60-inch wingspan Avanti patterns plane, which we're building from a great set of instructions, plans that we downloaded from the Outer Zone website. Now this is the fourth video, I had to think about it then, this is the fourth video I've done regarding this build. It's not a detailed build series, it's just kind of a blog updating, showing what I've been doing. Now in the last video we've got the wings covered, we've got it mocked up, and we decided where we need to put the radio gear. Oh, incidentally, there is a detailed build series for this plane, which I did a few years ago, and if you look in the description below this video you'll find a link to that series. But yeah, in the last video we decided by mocking it up where we were going to put the electronics, the servos, the battery and stuff like that. And essentially this is pretty nose heavy, this plane, because it's got a really big engine in the front, a Irvine 61, and it's quite heavy. It's also got quite a long nose, quite a long way ahead of the CG compared to the tail. I mean, if you split this up into three, you know, it's almost a third forward. Now I've started putting in some of the radio gear, and we'll have a quick look at what we're going to do, and then I'll get on and do it, and then we can have a look once it's done. Right, well, as you can see, I'm right in the thick of it here at the moment, and I've been working on the servos. As I said, it's really nose heavy, so we're getting all the weight down the back end, and I'm putting one of the servos into the tail here. It's an Emax servo, I think it weighs 20 grams. Hopefully that is in focus and you can see what it is. So I've got that in there now, and that's going to be for the elevators. I would have liked to have done this with the rudder, but because it's not a tail dragger, it's got a nose wheel, we would have needed to run a linkage all the way up the front to the nose wheel, or have two servos, which kind of defeats the object of trying to get the weight back and not put any extra weight in it. So we've got that done. I've also put in a little bit of a tube here, which if we just come in closer we can see that servo there. Let me just show you that first. And I've also put in a little bit of a tube here. I don't know whether that shows up very well on the light balsa. And I'm going to be having a linkage up to a servo in the fuselage up around the midsection, around the CG. And I'm using a carbon fibre rod, which is going to go up through that, and it's going to meet with the servo in the section above the wings here. So I think a carbon fibre would be nice, because I mean a flexible snake would have probably been the easiest, but I've kind of gone off flexible snakes. They expand and contract with the weather, and you're always trimming, and I think for a rudder it's not really something I want to do. If it's the throttle, I don't mind, or if it's a flexible snake like this going to the nose wheel, then that's fine, because a little bit of flex in a flexible snake will be good for the nose wheel because of the impact it's going to receive, and it will just cushion the servo a little bit. But I've made a servo tray here, which has got the bigger servo, which is it's a servo from World Models I bought a few years ago. They're quite good servos, and this is going to take the rudder and the nose wheel, and then we've got the smaller Emax servo, which is going to take the throttle, and that just goes in up here. I'm about to glue that into place, but I'll take the servos out first before I do that. But you can see it'll just go round about there. So I'm going to get on now and get this glued in. I'll take the servos out, get it glued in, we'll get the linkages done, and once we've got all of the electronics in, we'll come back and have another look. The only thing I'm not deciding on the location for at the moment is the battery, and I'm going to try and put this in a hatch underneath here, which will be an interesting to do. it will get the weight right back in this fuselage, and far better we move the the battery back to somewhere here rather than putting it up where it's more convenient at the front or the midsection, and then having to put 40 or 50 grams of lead in the back here, because we really don't want to add anything like lead that shouldn't be in this plane. We want to keep it as light as possible, and I think it's quite doable to make a little bit of a cover and hold the battery in a chunk of foam. The only problem we've got is to make sure that we leave clearance for our carbon fibre push rod, so we need to try and get that as high up in the fuselage so we can get the battery in the bottom. But anyway, we'll have a look at this once we've got it sorted. Right, well, it's time for another quick update before I take this outside, because it's a nice windy day, and get this fuselage sanded and ready for covering. So the update is just looking at the servos, and I've got the two servos here as far back as I can, and that is for the rudder and the steering wheel at the front, the nose wheel, and also for the throttle. And we can plug those in and just see them working with my really juddery servo tester. You can see the wheel moving. We've got a carbon fibre rod at the back here. Hopefully you can see that moving as well. And we'll do the final setup once we come to once we've got it covered. And if we look in there, we can see I've got the snakes glued in, and I wrap those with a little bit of this Scotch blue masking tape and then epoxy them. The masking tape sticks really well to the plastic snakes, and the epoxy sticks well to the tape, so that's kind of a good solution there. And I've got the tail on, the underside of the tail of the fuselage, and I'm going to profile all this now. I'm quite looking forward to doing it. The only thing I haven't done, which I would need to do, is to make a hatch for the battery, which is going to go somewhere along this fuselage. And because I want to get this as accurate as possible, because I really don't want to end up adding any weight front or back, I'm going to more or less get this plane finished, and I'm going to balance it, and I'm going to just suspend this under the fuselage. I think this is the idea. Suspend it under the fuselage, perhaps on a bit of cord or something, so I can move it up and down and get the balance just spot on, so I know where to put that hatch. And then I can cut a hatch in and make a hatch. I think it's far better than trying to do it now and finding I've got it in the wrong place. And it's underneath, so we're not going to see it unless we really look for it. So anyway, can't wait to get the servos out of this now and get out in the garden and start sanding. Right, well, it's time to get on with the covering, and essentially I'm going to be doing the cream on the front, on the underside. I've got that blue coming down and then filling out the back of the fuselage, and we got cream on the top. And I've made up some templates just to help me with that. So that's going to be for the cream, which will wrap around the underside. We've then got the blue that's going to come on, and that will come along there like that and be the fuselage, and then I don't need a template for the top. So let's get on and get this thing covered. Well, I am so excited now that this is finished, or at least the fuselage is covered, and I've just slotted in the tail assembly there just to get an idea of how it looks. It still needs gluing in and levelling up, but I just absolutely love the design of this, and it's gone on, this covering film, the Aura cover I'm using, has gone on really nice. And you can see there how it's just, you can see that turtle deck sticking through it, or sort of the impression of the turtle deck there through the film. Now, as I've said before, this is the original pattern of design of the covering that was on the 1974 build article, and I think it really complements the shape of this. And boy, those pinstripes, when you put them on, really bring this design to life. I mean, you have to, I've cut them individually, so it took a little bit of care just to get them nice and straight, but they've gone on absolutely lovely. and I can't wait now to start setting this plane up. But I'm going to build this, bring this video to a close now, and in the next video I'll be just doing some updates about how we're getting on with gluing the tail in perhaps, and setting this up and getting it all ready for the airfield. So I'll hope you come back and see how it's looking in the next video. I can't wait to get this finished now. I just absolutely love the lines on this plane. So anyway, thanks very much.